Black man tried to buy a mansion, but real estate agent humiliated him. But what he did next was, hello and welcome to our channel where we bring to you amazing stories daily. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Derek Johnson stepped out of his car, taking a moment to straighten his crisp white shirt and adjust his navy blazer. At 35, he carried himself with a quiet confidence that came from years of hard work and determination. His dark skin glowed in the morning sun as he looked up at the towering oak trees lining the street of this exclusive neighborhood. As a successful Black businessman, Derek had climbed the corporate ladder through sheer grit and talent. Starting as an entry-level analyst at a Fortune 500 company, he had worked his way up to become the youngest vice president in the firm's history. His journey hadn't been easy, but Derek never let the obstacles deter him. Today marked a significant milestone in his life. After years of saving and planning, Derek was finally ready to buy his dream home, a luxurious mansion in one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the city. He had always dreamed of owning a place where he could entertain friends, start a family, and create lasting memories. Derek's outfit was a perfect blend of casual sophistication. His tailored blazer paired well with dark jeans and leather loafers. He looked put together without being ostentatious, a reflection of his humble nature despite his success. Derek never felt the need to flaunt his wealth. His accomplishments spoke for themselves. As he walked towards the mansion, Derek couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He had come a long way from the small apartment he grew up in. His parents had instilled in him the values of hard work, education, and perseverance. Those lessons had served him well throughout his career. The mansion before him was a masterpiece of modern architecture. Its sleek lines and large windows promised spacious, light-filled rooms inside. The manicured lawn and carefully tended flower beds hinted at the luxury that awaited beyond the front door. Derek took a deep breath, savoring the moment. He had scheduled this viewing with Prestige Properties, one of the most renowned real estate agencies in the city. They were known for handling high-end properties and catering to an exclusive clientele. Derek had done his research and knew that this agency had the connections and expertise to help him find his perfect home. As he approached the front door, Derek couldn't shake off a familiar feeling of unease. Throughout his career, he had encountered subtle forms of discrimination. Sometimes it was a surprise look when he walked into a boardroom. Other times it was being mistaken for support staff at corporate events. Derek had learned to navigate these situations with grace and professionalism, but they always left a bitter taste in his mouth. He rang the doorbell, straightening his posture and putting on his most charming smile. The door swung open, revealing Mr. Simmons, an older white man in his 50s. His gray hair was neatly combed, and he wore an expensive suit that seemed to emphasize his air of superiority. Mr. Simmons's eyes quickly scanned Derek, and a subtle frown crossed his face. "Mr. Johnson, I presume?" Mr. Simmons said, his tone polite but cool. Derek nodded, extending his hand. "Yes, that's me. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Simmons." Mr. Simmons shook his hand briefly, his grip loose and noncommittal. "Well, shall we begin the tour?" he asked, stepping aside to let Derek in. As they entered the foyer, Mr. Simmons's lack of enthusiasm was palpable. He gestured half-heartedly at the grand staircase and high ceilings. "This is the main entrance. As you can see, it's quite spacious." Derek's eyes widened as he took in the beautiful details of the foyer. "It's stunning," he said, his voice filled with genuine appreciation. Mr. Simmons merely shrugged. "I suppose it is, for those who enjoy this sort of thing. Now, let's move on to the living areas." As they walked through the mansion, Mr. Simmons's commentary became increasingly dismissive. In the kitchen, he pointed out the high-end appliances with a sneer. "This kitchen is equipped with top-of-the-line appliances, probably more than most people would ever need or use." Derek, choosing to ignore the implication, asked, "What brand are these appliances? They look impressive." Mr. Simmons waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, there's some expensive European brand. I doubt you'd be familiar with it." Derek bit his tongue, resisting the urge to mention his own gourmet cooking hobby. Instead, he simply nodded and followed Mr. Simmons to the next room. In the master bedroom, Mr. Simmons's behavior became even more blatant. He opened the walk-in closet and chuckled. This closet is larger than some apartments. I doubt you'd have enough clothes to fill even a quarter of it. Derek remained silent, his jaw clenching slightly. He reminded himself to stay calm and professional. As they moved to the backyard, Mr. Simmons made another snide remark. This pool requires quite a bit of maintenance. It's not just about affording the house, you know? The upkeep can be challenging for some people. Derek took a deep breath, maintaining his composure. I appreciate your concern, Mr. Simmons. I assure you, I've considered all aspects of homeownership. Mr. Simmons raised an eyebrow, his disbelief evident. Have you now? Well, let's continue the tour, shall we? As they walked through the remaining rooms, Mr. Simmons's comments became increasingly pointed. In the home office, he smirked. This room is designed for high-level executives. I'm not sure what kind of work you do, but it might be a bit excessive for your needs. Derek, still maintaining his calm demeanor, replied, Actually, I think it would suit my needs perfectly. I often work from home and need a spacious, well-equipped office. Mr. Simmons looked surprised for a moment, but quickly masked it with another condescending smile. Of course. Let's move on to the entertainment areas. In the home theater, Mr. Simmons's behavior reached a new low. He gestured at the state-of-the-art equipment and plush seating. This setup is quite sophisticated. It requires a certain, refined taste to truly appreciate it. Derek felt his patience wearing thin, but he managed to keep his voice steady. I've always been a film enthusiast. This room would be perfect for movie nights with friends and family. Mr. Simmons let out a short, dismissive laugh. I'm sure your friends would be quite impressed. It's not everyday people in your circle get to experience such luxury. The tour continued, with Mr. Simmons making one demeaning comment after another. He questioned Derek's ability to appreciate the fine art on the walls, suggested that the wine cellar would be wasted on someone who probably preferred simpler beverages, and even implied that the neighborhood might not be welcoming to certain types of residents. Throughout it all, Derek maintained his composure, but inside, his resolve was hardening. He had faced discrimination before, but rarely had it been so blatant and persistent. Each snide remark, each dismissive gesture, only strengthened his determination to prove Mr. Simmons wrong. As they completed the tour and returned to the foyer, Mr. Simmons's condescending attitude reached its peak. He turned to Derek with a patronizing smile. Well, Mr. Johnson, what did you think of the property? It's quite something, isn't it? Of course, I understand if it's a bit out of your reach. Perhaps I could show you some more modest options in other neighborhoods? Derek took a deep breath, straightening his shoulders. The moment had come to put an end to Mr. Simmons's assumptions. Actually, Mr. Simmons, I'm very interested in this property. In fact, I'd like to make an offer. Mr. Simmons's eyebrows shot up, disbelief written all over his face. An offer? Mr. Johnson, I'm not sure you understand the price range we're dealing with here. This mansion is valued at several $1,000,000. The down payment alone would be substantial. Derek met Mr. Simmons's gaze steadily. I'm well aware of the price, Mr. Simmons, and I'm prepared to make a competitive offer. Mr. Simmons let out a nervous laugh. Mr. Johnson, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but perhaps we should discuss financing options first. Properties in this range often require extensive proof of income, assets, and an exceptional credit score. It's not just about having a good job, you know? Derek nodded calmly. I understand, Mr. Simmons. That's why I came prepared. He reached into his blazer pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is a pre-approval letter from my bank for a mortgage covering the full asking price of the mansion. Mr. Simmons's jaw dropped as he took the envelope with shaking hands. He opened it and scanned the contents, his face growing paler by the second. This is a pre-approved mortgage for the full amount. Yes, Derek finished for him. My financial advisor suggested I come prepared, given the competitive nature of the real estate market in this area. Mr. Simmons looked up from the letter, his earlier condescension replaced by a mixture of shock and embarrassment. Mr. Johnson, I had no idea. Please, let me apologize for any misunderstandings earlier. I assure you, Prestige Properties values all our clients equally. Derek nodded, his expression neutral. I'm sure you do, Mr. Simmons. Now, shall we discuss the offer? Mr. Simmons, now flustered and eager to please, nodded vigorously. Of course, of course. Please, let's sit down in the study and go over the details. I'm sure we can work out an excellent deal for you. As they walked to the study, Derek could see Mr. Simmons's entire demeanor had changed. Gone was the condescending attitude, replaced by an almost obsequious eagerness to please. It was a stark contrast to his behavior throughout the tour. Sitting down in the plush leather chairs of the study, Mr. Simmons pulled out some paperwork, his hands still slightly shaky. Now, Mr. Johnson, let's talk about your offer. Given your strong financial position, I'm sure we can expedite this process. The sellers will be thrilled to have such a qualified buyer. Derek leaned back in his chair, his face thoughtful. The tables had turned, and now he held all the cards. But as he looked at Mr. Simmons's eager face, he felt no satisfaction. Instead, he felt a deep disappointment in the prejudice he had faced, disappointment in the assumptions made about him based solely on his appearance. Mr. Simmons, Derek said calmly, I appreciate your enthusiasm. However, I think I'll need some time to consider my options before making an official offer. Mr. Simmons's face fell, confusion evident in his eyes. But Mr. Johnson, I thought you were ready to move forward. Is there something about the property that doesn't meet your expectations? I'm sure we can address any concerns you might have. Derek stood up, straightening his blazer. The property is perfect, Mr. Simmons. It's exactly what I'm looking for in a home. However, I believe that buying a home is about more than just the property itself. It's about feeling welcomed and valued in a community. Mr. Simmons's face paled as the implication of Derek's words sank in. Mr. Johnson, if this is about my earlier behavior, I assure you dash. Derek held up a hand, silencing Mr. Simmons. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Simmons. I'll be in touch if I decide to move forward with an offer. With that, Derek walked out of the study, leaving a stunned Mr. Simmons behind. As he made his way to the front door, Derek's mind was already racing with plans. He would buy this mansion, but not through prestige properties, and certainly not through Mr. Simmons. Derek stepped out into the sunlight, taking a deep breath of fresh air. The encounter with Mr. Simmons had been unpleasant, but it had also strengthened his resolve. He had worked too hard and come too far to let someone else's prejudice dictate his actions. As he got into his car, Derek felt a sense of calm determination wash over him. He had faced discrimination before, and he would likely face it again. But he had also learned that the best response to prejudice was success. Derek started the engine, a plan already forming in his mind. He would buy this mansion, but on his own terms. And in doing so, he would send a powerful message about judging books by their covers. With a smile, he drove away, leaving the neighborhood behind. But not for long. Derek left the mansion, his mind made up. He wouldn't buy through Mr. Simmons or prestige properties. As he drove away, he saw relief on Mr. Simmons's face. But Derek wasn't done. Back at his office, Derek searched for the mansion's owner. He found the name, Richard Thompson, CEO of a tech company. Derek knew people who knew Richard. He made some calls and got Richard's personal number. Derek called James that evening. Mr. Thompson? This is Derek Johnson. I'm interested in your mansion. Richard was surprised. How did you get this number? Derek explained his connections. He told Richard about his tour and Mr. Simmons's behavior. Richard listened, then said, I'm sorry that happened. It's not what I want associated with my property. Derek suggested, what if we make a deal directly? No agency fees. It could work out better for both of us. Richard thought it over. That's an interesting idea. What did you have in mind? Derek proposed a price slightly below the asking price. He mentioned his pre-approved mortgage and strong finances. Richard was impressed. That's a solid offer. Let's discuss details. Over the next week, Derek and Richard talked more. They negotiated terms. Derek's financial strength helped him get a good deal. Finally, they agreed on a price. It was less than the original asking price. Both men were happy with the arrangement. Derek knew he needed a real estate agent to handle paperwork. He didn't want to use prestige properties. He asked friends for recommendations. One name came up several times, Sarah Davis. She was a young black woman known for her skill and professionalism. Derek called Sarah. He explained the situation and asked if she'd help finalize the sale. Sarah was excited. "I'd be honored to help, Mr. Johnson. This is a big deal." They met to discuss details. Sarah was sharp and efficient. She understood what Derek wanted. "We'll make sure everything is done right," Sarah assured him. "And Mr. Simmons won't see a penny from this sale." Derek smiled. "Perfect. Let's get started." Sarah worked fast. She prepared all necessary documents. She coordinated with Richard's lawyers. Everything was done properly and legally. Within a month, the sale was ready to close. Derek, Richard, and Sarah met at the lawyer's office. They signed the final papers. Richard handed Derek the keys. "Congratulations, Mr. Johnson. The mansion is yours." Derek felt a surge of pride. He had bought his dream home on his own terms. He had overcome Mr. Simmons's prejudice. Sarah shook Derek's hand. "It was a pleasure working with you, Mr. Johnson. Enjoy your new home." Derek thanked Sarah for her help. He knew he had made the right choice in hiring her. As Derek left the office, keys in hand, he felt satisfied. He had turned a negative experience into a positive outcome. He had shown that success was the best revenge against discrimination. Derek drove to his new mansion. He stood in front of it, taking in the sight. It was his now. He had earned it through hard work and determination. He walked inside, his footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Derek smiled. He couldn't wait to fill this space with life and happiness. Derek knew this was just the beginning. He had plans for this mansion. It would be more than just a home. It would be a statement. As he looked around, Derek thought about Mr. Simmons. The real estate agent's actions had led to this moment. In a way, Derek was grateful. It had pushed him to take control and make things happen his way. Derek walked to the backyard. He looked at the pool, the gardens, the patio, all his now. He felt proud and determined. He took out his phone and made a call. "Hello, is this the Charity Events Committee? I'd like to host a fundraiser at my new home." Derek smiled as he made plans. This mansion would be more than a symbol of his success. It would be a platform to help others and make a difference. As the sun set, Derek stood in his new home. He had turned prejudice into opportunity. He had shown that dignity and success go hand in hand. Derek locked up and drove away. He had work to do. A house to furnish, an event to plan, and a point to prove. The mansion stood silent, waiting for its new chapter to begin. Just like Derek, it had a bright future ahead. Weeks passed, and Derek settled into his new mansion. He filled the rooms with elegant furniture and personal touches. The house came alive with his presence. One day, Derek sat in his study, planning a charity event. He wanted to make a statement and give back to the community. He crafted a guest list of influential people, including local business leaders and philanthropists. With a slight smile, Derek added one more name: Mr. Simmons from Prestige Properties. Meanwhile, across town, Mr. Simmons opened his mail. He found a gold-embossed invitation to a high-profile charity event. The address caught his eye. It was the mansion he had shown weeks ago. I guess someone bought it," Mr. Simmons muttered. He decided to attend, hoping to network with wealthy clients. The night of the event arrived. Derek stood in his foyer, greeting guests as they entered. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, exuding confidence and warmth. Outside, Mr. Simmons pulled up in his luxury car. He straightened his tie and walked to the entrance. He admired the mansion, remembering the day he had shown it. Mr. Simmons entered the foyer. He looked around, not noticing Derek. He moved into the main hall, joining the other guests. The hall buzzed with conversation. People in expensive clothes sipped champagne and discussed business. Mr. Simmons felt in his element. He started chatting with a group near the fireplace. "Lovely home, isn't it?" a woman said to Mr. Simmons. "I wonder who bought it." Mr. Simmons nodded. "Yes, it's quite impressive. I actually showed this property a few weeks ago." As they talked, a hush fell over the room. Derek stepped onto a small stage at the front. He tapped a microphone, drawing everyone's attention. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," Derek began. "Welcome to my home. I'm Derek Johnson, your host for tonight." Mr. Simmons froze. His eyes widened as he recognized Derek. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Derek continued his speech. I'm honored to host this charity event. It's a chance to give back and make a difference. He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. Life often presents us with obstacles, but it's how we handle these challenges that defines us. Mr. Simmons shifted uncomfortably. He felt like Derek was looking right at him. Respect and kindness are crucial, Derek said. We must never judge others based on appearances. True character shines through actions, not assumptions. The crowd nodded and murmured in agreement. Mr. Simmons felt a bead of sweat on his forehead. Derek finished his speech to warm applause. He stepped off the stage and began mingling with guests. Mr. Simmons stood frozen, unsure what to do. He watched as Derek moved through the crowd, greeting people warmly. Finally, Derek approached Mr. Simmons. Mr. Simmons, he said with a smile, I'm glad you could make it. Mr. Simmons stammered, Mr. Johnson, I had no idea you were the buyer. Derek nodded. Yes, it worked out well in the end. I found a way to purchase this beautiful home. Mr. Simmons tried to regain his composure. It's a lovely event. You've done wonders with the place. Thank you, Derek replied. I believe in creating a welcoming environment for all. Mr. Simmons felt the sting of Derek's words. He remembered his behavior during the house tour. Mr. Johnson, about our previous meeting, Mr. Simmons began. Derek held up a hand. Water under the bridge, Mr. Simmons. We all have opportunities to learn and grow. Mr. Simmons nodded, not knowing what to say. Derek continued, I've always believed that success is the best response to doubters. Don't you agree? Mr. Simmons swallowed hard. Yes, of course. You've certainly proven that. Derek smiled. Well, I must greet my other guests. Enjoy the evening, Mr. Simmons. With that, Derek walked away, leaving Mr. Simmons standing alone. Mr. Simmons watched Derek move through the crowd. He saw how people responded to Derek's warmth and confidence. As the evening progressed, Mr. Simmons found himself on the sidelines. He overheard snippets of conversation about Derek's success and generosity. Did you hear how he bought this place? One guest whispered. Apparently, some realtor tried to discourage him. Can you imagine? Mr. Simmons felt his face grow hot. He realized people were talking about him, even if they didn't know it. Later, Derek took the stage again. He announced the amount raised for charity. The crowd cheered at the impressive figure. This is what happens when we come together, Derek said. When we look past surface judgments and see the potential in everyone. Mr. Simmons felt every word like a pointed remark. He knew Derek was speaking to the crowd, but the message hit home. As the event wound down, guests began to leave. They shook Derek's hand, congratulating him on a successful evening. Mr. Simmons lingered, unsure whether to approach Derek again. He felt a mix of shame and admiration. Finally, he walked up to Derek. Mr. Johnson, I wanted to say goodbye, and I owe you an apology. Derek turned to him, his expression neutral. Oh. Mr. Simmons took a deep breath. My behavior when you first viewed this house was unacceptable. I made assumptions, and I was wrong. Derek nodded slowly. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Simmons. It takes courage to admit mistakes. Mr. Simmons continued, You've shown incredible grace. I've learned a valuable lesson. Derek smiled slightly. We all have room to grow, Mr. Simmons. The important thing is to recognize our biases and work to overcome them. Mr. Simmons nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. You're absolutely right. Thank you for the invitation tonight. It's been eye-opening. Derek extended his hand. Thank you for coming, Mr. Simmons. Have a good evening. They shook hands. Mr. Simmons turned and walked towards the exit. He felt Derek's eyes on him as he left. Outside, Mr. Simmons paused to look back at the mansion. He saw Derek through a window, still talking with the last few guests. Mr. Simmons realized how badly he had misjudged Derek. He had let prejudice cloud his judgment, and it had cost him more than just a sale. As the last guests left, Derek stood in his grand foyer. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The charity event had been a huge success. More importantly, he had turned his new mansion into a warm, welcoming home. Derek's closest friends and colleagues lingered. They gathered in the spacious living room, laughing and chatting. The room buzzed with positive energy. Derek, "You've outdone yourself," said Mark, Derek's mentor from work. He raised his glass in a toast. "This place is amazing, and what you've done with it is even more impressive." Sarah, the real estate agent who helped finalize the purchase, nodded in agreement. "You've created something special here, Derek. It's not just a house, it's a home." Derek smiled, looking around at the faces of his friends. These were people who had supported him throughout his career, who had believed in him when others doubted. "Thank you all," Derek said warmly. "This wouldn't mean half as much without you here to share it." As the night wore on, Derek's friends shared stories and memories. They talked about Derek's journey, from his early days as an entry-level analyst to his current success. "Remember when you first started?" laughed James, Derek's college roommate. "You were so determined. We all knew you'd make it big someday." Derek chuckled. "I had a lot of help along the way. You all played a part in this." The mansion, once just an empty shell, now felt alive. It echoed with laughter and conversation. The walls seemed to glow with the warmth of friendship and love. As his friends began to leave, each one hugged Derek. They congratulated him not just on the house, but on how he had handled the situation with Mr. Simmons. "You showed real class, man," said Robert, clapping Derek on the back. "You turned a negative into a positive. That's what real success looks like." Derek thanked his friends as they departed. He stood at the door, waving goodbye as cars pulled out of the driveway. The night air was cool and crisp. Meanwhile, across town, Mr. Simmons was having a very different experience. Word of his behavior had spread quickly through the tight-knit real estate community. The morning after the charity event, Mr. Simmons arrived at his office to find his phone ringing off the hook. But these weren't calls from potential clients. They were cancellations. "I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons," said one caller, "but we've heard about how you treated Mr. Johnson. We don't feel comfortable working with someone who makes such judgments." Mr. Simmons tried to explain, to apologize, but the damage was done. By lunchtime, he had lost 3 major listings. By the end of the week, his client list had shrunk dramatically. His colleagues at Prestige Properties began to distance themselves. They didn't want to be associated with his tarnished reputation. Mr. Simmons found himself isolated, his once bustling office now quiet and empty. The manager called him in for a meeting. "This behavior is unacceptable, Simmons," he said sternly. "It goes against everything our company stands for. We're going to have to let you go." Mr. Simmons left the office that day, his personal belongings in a small box. His career, built over decades, had crumbled in a matter of days, all because of one moment of prejudice and poor judgment. As news of Mr. Simmons's downfall spread, Derek received calls and messages. People praised him for his handling of the situation. They admired how he had responded to discrimination with grace and success. But Derek didn't gloat. He felt no joy in Mr. Simmons's misfortune. Instead, he hoped that this would be a learning experience, not just for Mr. Simmons, but for others in the industry. Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm for Derek. The mansion became a true home, filled with personal touches and happy memories. One quiet evening, Derek stood on his balcony, looking out over the city lights. He reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He thought about his humble beginnings, the challenges he had faced climbing the corporate ladder. He remembered the subtle and not-so-subtle discrimination he had encountered along the way. But he also thought about the people who had believed in him, the mentors who had guided him, the friends who had supported him. He thought about his parents, who had taught him the value of hard work and dignity. Derek realized that his success had never been defined by others' judgments. It had been shaped by his own determination, his integrity, and his refusal to let others' prejudices hold him back. He thought about Mr. Simmons and the charity event. Derek had chosen to respond to discrimination not with anger or revenge, but with success and kindness. He had let his actions speak louder than words. As he looked out at the twinkling lights of the city, Derek felt a deep sense of contentment. He was proud of what he had accomplished, but even more proud of how he had accomplished it. He thought about the future. This mansion wasn't just a symbol of his success. It was a platform from which he could make a difference. He had plans for more charity events, for mentoring young professionals, for creating opportunities for others. Derek smiled to himself. He had turned a moment of humiliation into a triumph of character. He had shown that true success isn't just about wealth or possessions. It's about maintaining your dignity and using your success to lift others up. As the night grew late, Derek turned to go back inside. He paused at the balcony door, taking one last look at the view. The mansion stood tall and proud, just like its owner. Derek felt grateful. Grateful for the journey, for the lessons learned, for the opportunity to make a difference. He knew that whatever challenges the future might bring, he was ready to face them with the same grace and determination that had brought him this far. He stepped inside, closing the balcony door behind him. The mansion was quiet, but it hummed with possibility. Derek walked through the halls, turning off lights as he went. In each room, he saw not just beautiful furnishings, but potential. Potential for more gatherings, more laughter, more opportunities to bring people together and make a positive impact. As he got ready for bed, Derek thought about the story of how he had acquired this mansion. It was a story of overcoming prejudice, of turning adversity into opportunity. But more than that, it was a story of staying true to one's values in the face of discrimination. Derek climbed into bed, feeling at peace. He had handled the situation with Mr. Simmons in a way that he could be proud of. He had maintained his dignity and shown that success is the best revenge. As he drifted off to sleep, Derek knew that this was just the beginning. He had plans, dreams, and the determination to make them a reality. And he would do it all without compromising his integrity or letting others' judgments define him. The mansion stood silent in the night, a testament to Derek's journey. It was more than just a home now. It was a symbol of what can be achieved when you face discrimination with grace, determination, and unwavering self-belief. And as the city slept, Derek Johnson, successful businessman and proud homeowner, slept soundly, ready to embrace whatever opportunities and challenges the new day might bring.